Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central this evening with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. We hope everybody's out there feeling real fine, getting ready to enjoy another good weekend on a weekend. Yes. So we're here tonight to continue our Juneteenth series. We're celebrating Juneteenth here in 2021, and we're hoping that it's going to be a little bit of fun, at least, if not a lot, and that you'll get something out of it that you'll remember from now on. And so we've started this month off by presenting the writing of Joel Augustus Rogers out of his last writing, The Five Negro Presidents. I think he saved that for last so he wouldn't have to deal with the backlash that would come from that particular little tome. But yeah, he produced that. It's like 1965, 1966 vintage, I believe. What's it say here? Yep, 1965. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. But before we do that, we need you all to do the needful, such as if you're watching on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And no matter what platform you may be watching on, or whether you're watching live or whether you're watching a recorded version, we need everybody to spread the word far and wide about what you have just heard right here on Black Facts, the tubular Black Facts channel on YouTube. All right, so let's see what kind of proverb we got for you today. All these Ethiopian proverbs, they just won't quit. It seems like it's an endless pit. I started falling into this pit so long ago. I don't know when I first fell into it, and I just can't seem to hit bottom because it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So here we go with another Ethiopian proverb. A fool will pair an ox with an elephant. Now, for all those biblical people out there, all you Bible thumpers, y'all know what we're talking about there about being unevenly yoked. That if you pair an ox with an elephant, somebody's unevenly yoked. Okay? Okay. And I heard that statement from a young lady one time, and I just thought it was foolish because I didn't plan on being yoked to nobody for no reason, no how, no way. But maybe she had a point in the end. Maybe I should have listened. But, you know, in my younger days, it was hard to hear those kind of things. But now, being a little older, I'm a little bit less bold because I'm a little bit more old. Hello. So let's see where we left off at yesterday. And I know I put a bookmark in here yesterday. So let's see if the bookmark held or if it fell out. And I don't know how the bookmarks keep falling out of this daggone thing. But somehow it seems to have fallen out and along with some of the pages. But let's see. We talked about Vice President Hannibal Hamlin. Okay. Yeah. And we read about the confusion of the Lincoln lookalike. That the Lincoln lookalike apparently was a black man. Looked just like old Abe. So the next one we're going into here is Warren G. Harding. And this is one of my favorite, quote unquote, Negro presidents because he's from right here in Ohio. And even there was a movie that came out. I think it was Roots. It might have been Roots, like the second generation or something like that. But I think it was one of the series of Roots. So it was like the last generation from Roots. And some of the people were working up in the White House. And they made mention of this fact that the president had a race problem that all the staff knew about, the black staff at the White House knew about, but they had to keep it hush hush. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to go ahead and transition on over to our slideshow. See if we can keep it going here. Yep, there we go. Okay. All right. Now, Warren G. Harding, shortly before the 1920 election day, Americans were amazed to read in the Democratic papers that Harding was a Negro, quote unquote. Sometime before that, however, millions of mimeographed broadsides have been distributed saying that Harding's father is George Tryon Harding, obviously a mulatto. He has thick lips, rolling eyes, chocolate skin, and that his mother, Phoebe Dickerson, a midwife of whose ancestry little is known, was white. Attorney General Harry Daugherty says that there was discovered in the San Francisco mails alone over 250,000 copies, and that President Wilson indignantly ordered the stuff destroyed. Thereafter, they were distributed by hand. With this also appeared a book by William Estabrook, Chancellor, Professor of Economics, Politics, and Social Sciences of Worcester College, Ohio. Excuse me. Chancellor based his assertions on interviews with aged residents of Marion, Ohio, who knew the Harding family. He had affidavits from them, as well as a letter from Senator Foraker, a friend of the Negro, who had written him asking him to give Harding's sister, Mrs. Votaw, employment in the public schools of Washington, D.C., of which Chancellor was then superintendent. She was given employment in a quote-unquote Negro school, then tightly segregated. She also lived among the Negroes there. Wendell P. Dabney, a Negro editor of a weekly and paymaster of the city of Cincinnati, said that Harding had been known as a Negro long before the circulars appeared, and that when he was first running for office, he used to tell Negroes he was colored. It is reported that when Republican leaders had called on Harding to deny the story, he said, "How should I know? One of my ancestors might have jumped the fence." End quote. The Justice Department did its best to suppress the story. One of its special investigators, Gaston B. Means, tells how he bought up Chancellor's book on Harding, brought them to Washington in a guarded express car, and made a big bonfire of them. Quote unquote. On the grounds of the Boyd Mansion, the plates were also destroyed, he said. This is reported in the book, The Strange Death of President Harding, pages 139 to 140. So thorough was the suppression that the book, Warren G. Harding, President of the United States, is one of the rarest books ever printed in America. There are only 3 known copies. It is now said to be worth $200,000 per copy. The rear book room of the New York Public Library has a copy. In the magazine Fact, F-A-C-T, January to February 1964, reproduces copies of some of the sworn affidavits of aged whites who knew Harding's ancestors. It also says that inquiries made by Dr. H.F. Alderfer and Samuel Hopkins Adams among the persons who swore to the affidavits showed that such persons still held to what they had said about Harding's being a Negro. Now, the picture you see on the screen right now, if you're looking on YouTube, is Congressman G.K. Butterfield from North Carolina in the year 2007. So as we're going through these photos, we'll compare this one to one of Warren G. Harding. Oh, well, there's one of Alexander Hamilton. And if you notice, other than that piece of that horsehair he's got tagged on the back of his head, the rest of his hair is quite kinky. President. The fifth president, said to be of Negro ancestry, will not be named here. There seems to be no published research on his ancestry, as in the case of Harding. My first intimation, oh, and here goes a picture of Warren G. Harding. So if you go back to Butterfield, there's Butterfield in 2004. And then here is Warren G. Harding from back in the 1920s. Now, there were other pictures in here I inserted in here as well. Frederick Douglass, notice his hair and how he styled his hair and the similarity between his hair and that of Alexander Hamilton. And that when you do a profile of anybody, you can make anybody look white that may not be at all. But a profile picture doesn't, you can't see how wide their nose is. In other words, that's the point. All right, so going back to Warren G. Harding. My first intimation of it was from a white woman in a cafe in the Latin Quarter of Paris, where Americans met nightly to talk. I understood it had appeared in a French paper on the topic of race intermixture. Now, the picture I'm showing right now, that's Freddie Washington, a well-known black, Negro, colored, call her what you will, actress. Back in the, she was in, not Stormy Weather, she was in An Imitation of Life. Yeah, she starred in that. That's probably her most well-known film. And here we have Adam Clayton Powell Jr., well-known Negro or black congressional representative out of New York City during the time of Malcolm X. So that was mid-60s. On my return to America, I heard much of it in Washington and New York and was asked by my audiences if it was true. But the only published mention I ever saw of it was in the Baltimore Afro-American, where one of his columnists said it was a smear. So far as I know, it was all based on a photograph of the president's mother and on certain of those of the presidents. The portrait of his mother, to those acquainted with Negro physiognomy, does show Negro ancestry. Almost everyone who sees it has, without prompting or knowing who she is, said that she is colored, which at that time meant black. All were amazed when they heard who she really is. She is Virginia born. The features of this president also do show some Negroid strain in his more informal pictures, especially two in my possession. Some of his pictures bear a striking resemblance to two well-known Negroes. As for color, photographs, photographs often are quite different from the real color of the subject. In conclusion, the fact that these 5 presidents could be Caucasian to some and Negroes to others, but shows how ridiculous is this burning question of race. Okay, and we're gonna end right there, because that is basically J.A. Rogers' primary approach to race. That in one instance, somebody could be very light and considered to be Negro, and at another point, they could be considered to be white. And that the difference between the two, the only difference between the two was based on the perspective of the person who was making the so-called racial determination and the objectives of said person making the so-called racial determination. And for myself, I know this to be a fact because my grandmother, my dear old grandmother, my father's mother, was very light-skinned, and we never knew it until I started doing our genealogy and was going through the records and found her death certificate and saw that in the 1980s when she died, the doctor checked off Caucasian on her death certificate. Obviously, he hadn't seen me, my uncles, my dad, because all of us looked like I do. We're about the same complexion. So he wouldn't have checked off that box if he'd seen us showing up at the hospital, but he did. Yes. And this was true of many people on her side of the family. There were many people on that side of the family that sometimes were known to be white, other times were known to be black, depending on who you're talking about and where they were at the time. So all of these goes along with Juneteenth. How does it fit in? Because Juneteenth was about liberating, quote unquote, the African descendants of African slaves, or descendants of enslaved Africans, better put, the descendants of enslaved Africans who sometimes were noticeably were definitely African in our physiognomy, and other times you couldn't tell the difference between us and somebody else that was white. As a matter of fact, there's some white people that look more black than we did. So all of this went along with this whole emancipation deal. And we're going to come back to that. We'll talk more about it later. But we're going to change gears. We're going to shift gears this weekend. You know what? We're going to do some, we'll put up some videos on Saturday and Sunday about this, these topics, and that where other people discuss the very same issues. And then on Monday, when we come back, we're going to shift gears. So in the meanwhile, this is Doc Ock at noon and 9. I'm signing off. But before I do, let me talk to all the little children out there, because it's time for all you little children to lay your little heads on your little pillows, on your little beds, and close your eyes, waiting for that big old sun to rise. And when that sun steps up from over the horizon and those sunbeams start beaming down on your eyes and you start to rise, just remember that it's up to you what kind of day you have. Will it be divine, or will it be just fine? Will it be a good day? Will it be a bad day? It's all up to you. So make what you will of the new day. But for now, lay that head down and get a little rest in, so you can make the most of all of those hours of sunshine that we're going to have tomorrow, because it's going to be a long day, and I hear it's going to be hot and sunny too. So enjoy tomorrow. In the meanwhile, all you adults out there, you know what we need you to do. 2 things. Number 1, if you're watching on Facebook, give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And then go ahead and take one more step and become a sustaining member of the Black Facts family. It's easy to do. Go to our website, blakfacts.org. Click the donate button at the top. You can do that on your phone, your laptop, your iPad, your iPod, your Kindle, whatever device you have that'll get to the internet, including your TV. Just go on over there and do it now. Don't delay. Make it a recurring donation. $5, $10, $15, $20 a month would be great. We'd really appreciate it, and we will use those funds wisely, as always, because you see, we've been over here making an investment in our future by making an investment in learning the stories of our past, taking the past, bringing the past into the present so we can move on to the future. Peace out without a doubt. And of course, peace with justice, because anything less disgusts us.